Thank you, Israel, for the coffee. Okay. Good morning, everybody. Let's get right to it. Bezrat Hashem, whoever needs copies, there's copies here. Thank you. And if anyone else ordered a sefer and didn't get one, I have the last one here. So whoever you ordered it, I have it here. All right, my brothers. Open up, please. Chevra. Whoever's here is here. Every second counts. Okay? Yalla. Lamed Gimel. Now, what I want to do right now is because, Baruch Hashem, we're going to be moving forward big time today. Daf Lamed Gimel. I'm going to just repeat the end of the last shir, which was last week, and also read a little bit outside, because I don't want to get stuck at just cracking some very difficult Hebrew, but give you the tamtzit of what Rav Ginsburg told us last time, and a little bit of the end over here, okay? The last thing we will be learning about was about enforcing a certain type of order into a dream. And in Kabbalah, taking the dream of Am Yisrael coming back to Eretz Yisrael, this massive, massive dream, and placing order into it based on what we will start to see, how it works Kabbalistically, gives us the ability to actually implement some type of an order to make us feel a shtickle more sane with the immense balagan that this dream has found itself in. And of course, you know, this is continues with our avoda of staying focused and staying hopeful and staying determined and making sure that we're able to look at our children in the eyes and say, after our brothers and sisters were brutally murdered and raped, we didn't choose to stay in a coma. How's that? You chose what? We didn't choose to stay in a coma. Can you come a little bit closer, Yossi, too? I have a little bit of Rahmanis on me. I use my voice all day long, every day. Please help me out a little bit. Okay. Kacha. When you look at the bottom, of page Lamed Bet, if you go one page before, look at the bottom of Lamed Bet. We say like this: sometimes in order for things to start to move, to start to take place, there needs to be what's called a mapatz gadol, which is known as like lahavdil, the Big Bang, right? So we had a Big Bang. What was that called? That was called 1948. It was a Big Bang. That's like, sometimes in order to get a dream to start to get into motion, some kind of movement, you need the Big Bang, right? That happened. That happened. There was a Big Bang that happened. And the Big Bang is not misudar. There's no seder in it. So like this, את ההתרחשות שהביאה לקום המדינה, second to bottom paragraph, on דף ל"ב, את ההתרחשות שהביאה לקום המדינה, ניתן להסביר בכך שתהליך של תיקון דורש פעמים רבות פעולה בעלת עוצמה רבה, החורגת מן הסדר הרגיל, שתנער ותניע את המצב. He's saying, we can understand the founding of the state of Israel, that sometimes a big tikkun needs a huge big bang, like a big action, to come and shake the grounds. HaChoreget, which deviates from when things are mesudar, like a normal order, in order to get things to start shaking. In our lives, it's the same thing. We have all these dreams and ideas and visions, and yet until there's like a big boom, nothing moves, because we think, no, and only in order, I can only move forward and proceed when this happens, and this happens, and this is mesudar, and this is mesudar. Yes?
Why do you have to go back to 48?
I'm not. I'm basing on what he's saying. I'm not saying it. I'm just basing on what he said over here. So in order to get this movement going, that's what happened. 1948, a huge shake of the system, not be'ofen of a seder. Of course, another war was called upon us, this is like the biggest, in my opinion, this is one of the greatest miracles that we still don't really understand, that 3 years after Jews were in gas chambers, many of those same Jews fought here against 7 Arab nations, and we had a state. It's lo yuman. It's not to be believed on the level of every biblical proportion. Mamash. That's what happened. 1948, 1945, 1948. Lo yuman. Lo haya zman leseder. There was no time to say, no, let's get all in order and everything will be broken up to pieces. We'll do this, we'll do that, we'll do that. But Rav Ginsburg says that actually sometimes, in order to get things starting to move, you need a big shake that doesn't have its surah yet. It doesn't really have it in order. And this is, he says, לאחר תגובת המפץ הראשונית הזאת, יכול להתחיל תהליך בניין הכלים לפי הסדר הנכון והטוב. Kelim can only come into the picture only after this Big Bang takes place. So meaning like this, there's no heter to keep on going Rosh Bakir after the Mapatz HaGadol. You understand what that means? There's no heter, there's no... what's that?
Living under a rock.
Permission. You can't continue living under a rock after the Big Bang and say, "I'll wait till another Big Bang." That's not how we work.
Isn't that exactly what's happening though?
100%, and that's what we're trying to wake up from. Yes. The answer is yes. And that's exactly why we're sitting here learning this and not just tripping our faces off of, the highest, sweetest Torah that we've been doing with PSS and visualizations, which I can't wait to go back to, because right now there's avodah l'maisa that has to do with Tikkun HaMedina, 100%. Someone wrote me a few weeks ago, when are you going to go back to the feel-good stuff? Someone that's not from here, someone that learns online for a few years. When are you going to go back to the feel-good stuff? I didn't even answer. I have no idea. And they're probably not learning with us anymore. So I have no idea how to begin to respond to such a thing. Like, okay, if you're able to go back to the feel-good stuff now, ashrecha isher koyach, I'm sorry, I can't. I can't. One time I was walking with a shliach, a Lubavitcher shliach, in the streets of San Francisco on Shabbos many years ago. And he said to me that on his last trip to Eretz Yisrael, someone gave him such a shtach and said to him, Achi, tazov et ze kvar, bo, tachzor la'aretz. Just come back, bo, te'eneh, tachzor la'aretz. So leave your shlichus. And here he said to him, in a holy way, he said, and this I always say, right? Ben Shapiro and Chabad Shluchim, the only ones that should still be busy in America, right? Because they're picking up they're raising awareness and picking up the sparks and bringing people back home in a very deep way. He said, Shema, the fact that you could just forget about you're not even aware of all the people that, I'm meeting on campuses and turning them on to Shabbos for the first time. You're able to just knock them off, write them off. I can't. So I feel like the same thing over here is that 100%, Ari, we're in the heat of this right now because this is where we're at. This is actually the situation. And for those of you that are going to see with your own eyes, for the first time today down south, you'll understand why we have to learn this stuff now more than ever. The bottom paragraph. Hamatara meshi... No, I want to move forward today.
Not a dispute. Just
because you're a Kohen, I'm letting you speak right now.
Many of us, not myself only, are looking for the masa, la masa. That we're waiting to see what is the la masa that this brings up. That's all.
Yeah, me too. But I'll tell you something already right now. We've been so busy in a la masa headspace that has no seder and kelim for so long already. So it would be the easiest thing right now if the next paragraph is what he told us, and this is what you should actually do right now. However, when you learn Pnimiyus HaTorah, there's a lot of Lamaisa, but it's a different type of Lamaisa that you're used to. What's a Lamaisa learning Pnimiyus HaTorah? What's the Lamaisa?
The Pnimiyus itself.
The Pnimiyus itself, meaning looking at a situation, learning a new vocabulary, and only after Ze Shagur Befinu Bilvavenu Ubemochenu, then what I end up doing Lemaisa has a kli, which is exactly what we're trying to learn here. So it's good you're bringing this up. Trust me, it'd be the best thing in the world if there was a next page saying Ve'achshav tetzu larechov v'ta'asu kacha v'achrei ze kacha v'achrei ze kacha.
That may not work. It has to be.
A, it may not work, and B, it's not what our neshamas are. We have a seder. We have Pnimiyus HaTorah. We have a seder of how these things are working. Alavai should get there very soon, but there already is today hints to a lamaisa that you're looking for, but in a much bigger picture. Hamatara meshichit. Oh boy. Buckle up, guys. Hamatara meshichit. I'm warning you fanatics. Hamatara meshichit asofit. של תהליך זה היא להביא לידי כך שנוכל לחיות בארצנו המובטחת לנו תוך עבודת השם בשמחה. Just know the point of all of this, the messianic point and the kivun of everything that we're learning is that we could actually end up living here by serving Hashem b'simcha. Simcha novat mi'achdut mushlemet. A simcha that sprouts forth from a complete oneness. Ha'ama Yehudi, what does that mean, achdut mushlemet? He gives a hagdara here, definition of what utter completion means here, a complete picture. Ha'ama Yehudi hachai b'shlemuto be'eretz Yisrael ha'shlema u behetem lichukei Torah b'shlemutam. Uh-oh.
Oh, it's got to be Medina Yehudi.
I know. This is
The dark side is to stop that.
so we'll see how he explains this. But he said there is a goal. What's the goal? The goal is to be Yidden that live in Eretz Yisrael Hashlema, serving Hashem b'simcha, living a life where I'm aligned with the whole purpose of creation, the blueprint of creation. What's the blueprint of the creation of the whole world? Torah. It's amazing that for 75 years, whenever anyone that's not coming from a pnimius energy of saying the word Torah threatens the person next to him that's not seeped in the world of Torah. It's one of the scariest things in the world.
It's exactly what Jeremy said at the conference.
Yeah. Nachon. But the manner in which we mention the word God even, the manner in which we speak about the world of Torah has got to be coming in our era. It's got to sound very different. It's not compromising, Chevra. It's got to be in a way like the Rebbe said, be'ofen hamiskabel. It's got to be in a way that can reach the hearts and souls of all of Am Yisrael. And it's still not there, kmo shetzarich. Next page. Bahoveh. Okay, so this is for you, Steve. Bahoveh, what should we do right now? Alinu la'asot kol ma shebicholteinu al menat lechazek et hazehut hayehudit. We must do whatever we need to do in order to strengthen our Jewish identity, our Jewish feglin, ואת המחויבות לדרך התורה בארץ ישראל, and our commitment to the derech HaTorah in Eretz Yisrael, ומתוך המודעות לשאיפה המשיחית הסופית גם בכל העולם. We're not just concerned about Eretz Yisrael, we're conscious of the messianic aspiration that is not a Jewish or Israel-bound reality. It's kol ha'olam kulo. Everyone.
I'm saying that, in essence, everybody else to reach them to the stage of Bnei Noach.
נכון. על ידי כך נוכל ליצור מסה קריטית, critical mass, של מודעות יהודית, of Jewish awareness and consciousness, המוכנה ורוצה להוציא לפועל את התהליך שנתאר. We must reach a mass, a critical mass of people. Masa kritit. Critical mass means...
It's like the majority of people are all of the same machshava and talich.
Lav dafka even majority. But there has to be a significant enough.
He didn't say majority. He said masa kritit. It doesn't mean a majority. It just means, it just means like...
It's a momentum.
That's a national level.
It means...
It's the last straw that breaks the camel's back, and then everything goes into...
You don't think it's majority?
Huh?
You don't think it refers to majority?
Masa kritit. He would have said rov.
You're right.
He would have said rov, but when he's saying masa kritit, Eli, if you don't mind, because I know you have always, if you don't mind just coming much closer, because I know there's not I can't even hear you when you're sitting next to me, so come much closer. What did you want to say?
Yeah, it's just enough volume to create a tipping point.
Which is not dafka a rov.
Correct.
Correct. הבנת? מספיק אנשים כדי לגרום לאיזושהי קריאה מוצקת, like a solid calling, right? מסה קריטית. In order to, that's and this critical mass is ready and wants להוציא לפועל. It wants to actually
Activate this.
it wants to do something. It wants some tachlis. It actually wants some tachlis. Now, I'll just say that in our country, this is probably one of the hardest things to create because of the structure of hierarchy, how things work here, because of the Beit Mishpat, because the way that it's set up here with the Supreme Court that it gets even more difficult and more confusing. Because the way is, you could have a masa kritit, you can even have a rov, and the ma'isa, those two factors still somehow it's like it's not the final say, but that's because these two things that we mentioned are still not, I believe that once it's coming from Pnimiyus HaKishkas of the Neshama, the Masa Kritit and the Rov that's emanating from that place,
You're unstoppable.
in a real way. Meaning, at a certain point, that kochot of the other side has to, at a certain point, has to give in. But that's a spiritual war. That's a spiritual war. I was thinking about this morning during davening. I don't know why, but last time, the second time I was in Shuva, there was a Chaver Knesset that was there. He's in Miluim, serving in Miluim. And he came from Gaza. And I introduced him to Yossi. And Yossi told everyone, oh, this is so-and-so, and I got his name wrong. But which is all kavat, it's all probably the greatest thing that ever happened to him. He introduced him as someone else. He's like, actually, that's not me. I'm someone else. But he's like,
who was it?
It was Yoaz Hendel. He's like, I'm not Chidi Troper. He took it. Look at the guy just got out of Gaza. You think he matters? Like, he get his name right or not? He's starving. He hasn't eaten days and slept. But I asked him to give me a bracha. This is a guy that represented Am Yisrael in the Knesset. He comes from a religious home. And I asked him to give me a bracha. He was so dumbfounded, he didn't know what to do. He said, he was on the phone with his wife, and he's like, טוב, קורה לי משהו שלא קרה לי אף פעם בחיים שלי, אני אחזור אלייך. Right? So he's like, and he had no, I caught him so off guard. Bichlal, whenever I meet Knesset members, I remember or anyone in the army, I always like try to pull out something neshamadik that catches them completely off guard. How many brachas I've asked from people that like have never been even tested to think through their soul, ever. One time I was at a chuppah, I was doing a chuppah, big. I don't want to mention names. He got so uncomfortable that I was talking to him about Nishmas Am Yisrael that he changed the topic as fast as he could, and I brought it back. He changed it again. This kept on happening back and forth until he was like clearly just like he was just done with me. So it's like just leave me alone. Let me argue with something like let's be rosh berosh about something we can argue about. No, and I kept on bringing it back. It was so interesting. It was fascinating. So he said. So Rav Ginsburg ends over here like this, and he says like this: "Be'iyonenu b'shlavei ta'alich hatikun." When we look deep into the process of fixing, nir'eh ketzad hotza'atam el ha'po'al tluya b'chol echad va'achat meitanu. He's saying implementing this is not about a Rebbe doing his magic. It's about each person having to do their role. Each person here has to show up. Al kol echad va'achat le'a'ir et hachoshech shesvivo. Each person here has to illuminate the darkness that surrounds him, ובסופו של דבר להפוך את החושך לאור, and eventually transforming darkness into light. And here, I just want to give a little bit of musar to the chaver here that daven with us on Shabbos. It can't be that when something is off, something's just not stimming, and everyone knows it, everyone waits for me or the token VAD member to kind of fix things up. If we're here and we're all in this together for real, I'm not saying everyone has the authority to do something. It's not about doing anything crazy. It's just about a little bit of seder. A little bit of seder, something, and you know what I'm referring to. And this needs to keep on being reminded. It's not about saying, okay, now I can do whatever I want, but hamevin yavin. Give you an example. You know, there's been a chair, I dafka left it there. There's been a chair that somehow was next to the Aron HaKodesh for 4 days. Everyone knows it doesn't belong there. There's no havamina that someone's saying, no, that's the new decorum. It's like, lo yachol liot, and everyone's seen it. This is your shul. Everyone has to take part in liapototo, in making it just a little bit more beautiful. Okay, every single person has to do it. If you see something, just mamash, like it's very important that I'm able to say these things, and you all say, yeah, of course, like this is my home as well. Okay, Rav Ginsburg's not giving us any heterim to be somech right now on anyone at the head. He's saying, if there's choshech around you, and you understand what to do based on what we're going to learn, do not wait for an instruction. In the moment.
In you as well.
Here he said svivo. Here he said svivo. I would assume he would also mean in you, but there's plenty of svarim that talk about the choshech within. Here he's speaking about the choshech saviv. Good diuk. Now Rav Ginsburg is very medayek with his lashon. So it's not like, oh, it could be that he meant this to. If this was a workbook about how to schlep out the darkness from within, it would be a different thing over here. If you're still learning this sefer 33 pages in, it probably means that there's something about you that understands Hamavdil ben Kodesh L'chol to a certain extent. That's how I feel about this. Now, how do we begin this avoda, this process? Rav Ginsburg says this is not just going to be thoughts and ideas. We have to look at Briat HaOlam. We got to look at the creation of the world. את הדגם הטוב ביותר למשימת הענק של תיקון המצב הנוכחי סיפק לנו הקדוש ברוך הוא כשהפך את החושך לאור ביום הראשון לבריאת העולם. The greatest example we have to the massive task of tikkun, of the period that we're in right now. All one needs to do is reread the psukim in Bereshis. There's going to be a chidush just by reading the psukim right now that you're going to be blown away by. I was blown away by this. I'm just going to read some psukim, okay? Read it as if you're reading it for the first time. Does everyone have pages, by the way? There's a few more copies here. Over here. Ellie, do you have the sefer? Oh, you have it. I have it in English. I have one more copy here in Hebrew that no one's claimed. Okay? Lamed Gimel. Daf Lamed Gimel. Reading psukim. Now read it ki'il you're reading it for the first time, okay? As if you never read it before. And just look at the order of things. Bereshis bara Elokim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. V'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom. V'ruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. Vayomer Elokim yehi or vayehi or. Vayar Elokim et haor ki tov. Vayavdel Elokim ben haor uben hachoshech. ויקרא אלוקים לאור יום ולחושך קרא הלילה, ויהי ערב, ויהי בוקר, יום אחד. Now he's going to point some very interesting things out on the first introduction to God's story, to Hashem's love letter to us. הקדוש ברוך הוא ברא את האור על רקע החושך הקדמון. God created light. What does it mean, על רקע החושך הקדמון?
Preceding black background.
On a black canvas, basically, yeah? בתחילה שימשו האור והחושך בערבוביה. And when God first created light and darkness were operating together, mixed up. Whatever was coming out was a mixture of both light and darkness. At what pasuk is that? That they're operating together? No. Vayomer Elokim yehi or vayehi or.
Right.
You see how deep this is? Vayomer Elokim yehi or. 100%.
Vayavdel is after.
Vayavdel is afterwards. The separation of light and darkness only comes afterwards. But when it says Vayomer Elokim yehi or vayehi or, where's the choshech? Exactly. The choshech is inside the or.
This is a new bria of or.
I'm sorry?
The implication of the pasuk is that the Baruch Hu created something new called or.
Guys. I can't even say it again. I'm sorry.
The implication of again, pshat is like Kodesh Baruch Hu created something new that was or. It didn't exist before.
Correct.
How do we say that it was bi'irbu?
Because the next pasuk tells us Vayavdel. Very good.
He was Mavdil after he created this new or.
Yefeh. But that you hear what Steve pointed out, just the diuk of the psukim. Something new was created. It was called or. What was it created on? What canvas? Choshech HaKadmon. Tov Avo Choshech HaKadmon. This is an amazing thing. It's operating in the world. Yehi or, there's light. But only afterwards, then there's a separation of it. This is very important for us to understand what we have to do in the world. It's not just so you can give over a good word. Do you understand? We're looking at the psukim again. Again, HaKadosh Baruch Hu barat ha'or al reka HaChoshech HaKadmon. בתחילה שימשו האור והחושך בערבוביה, Ha'or lo haya bahir v'ta'or, ela afor ve'akur. In the beginning, the light that was in the world, it was good, but it wasn't completely clear and pure. It was actually gray.
Dampened.
Yeah.
The mix between
It
them.
was mixed. They're
So we're saying
buvia.
at the time of creation, there was already darkness and light.
Right after the create, meaning the darkness was there. The choshech wasn't created. Darkness was there. By the way, what else doesn't say was ever created? Water. Also, it's interesting. We'll get to that. That never says vayivrat hamayim. Vayihi mayim. Doesn't say that. But it doesn't say vayivrat choshech either. Choshech is there, it's the backdrop. Choshech al pnei tehom. Light is created, but light's created in a metziut of darkness. And when it was coming out at the beginning, and when it was coming out in the beginning, it was coming out foggy, gray. במצב זה, היה הטוב המהותי שבאור נסתר. In this situation, the essential, the real good that was in the light was still hidden. Why? It was going through a blend of darkness. ולא היה בכוחו להאיר את העולם, and it couldn't really illuminate the world. Therefore, לכן, הבדיל הקדוש ברוך הוא בין האור ובין החושך. וחידד, and then he sharpened עוד את נבדלותם. He sharpened the contrast and the difference between them. How? על ידי נתינת שם מיוחד לכל אחד מהם. This has a definition. What's this called? Or. What's this called over here? Choshech. Vayikra, it's amazing. Vayikra Elokim laor yom, velachoshech kara laila. Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. That's the beginning of our world. Now you see something very interesting. People are so scared today, in the name of a warped concept of achdus, to ever take stands anymore. It's got to be a shul that just everything goes, make sure everyone feels good. It's got to be a school that just, it's all inclusive. That's where we're at today. Everything's fine. It just all needs to fit in. And those places usually have the least identity and the least besora to give to the world. Because there's nothing wrong. Everyone says, I hate labels. I actually really don't. But God doesn't hate labels either. God began the creation of the world with two labels, with two definitions. Choshech and Or. Now, before we say what goes in each of those, we have to accept that the way that Hashem created the world is by saying, this is this, and this is this, and not,
well, even though it was
this is
created
it.
that way, does that mean like that was ideal? That's very strange to me. Like it would be created with this mix of gray matter, even as if it's ideal. Somewhere along the way, Hashem's like, this isn't going to work, and I have to. Before I even got involved in the picture, to mess it up, and it got separated beforehand.
Very good. He's gonna define. He's actually gonna explain exactly what you're speaking about. So Tomeret, do you think God made a mistake? And he was like, oh, this doesn't go. But Ikar, it really should be that everything just goes together. See, Hashem shows us the Torah in order for us to not just know what He did. It's always to explain to us what we need to do. That's what the Torah is called, Torah milashon hora'ah, instruction. So we're going to see how Dafka, because of the fact that that was the way that the development of the beginning of the world plays a very, very direct role in how we have to approach what's going on today. In a nutshell, listen, 45. What's 1945? Choshech or Or? Choshech. What's 1948?
It's in your booth.
Yeah, right. That's a mixture. That's the first one.
It's in your booth.
Or mixed with the choshech.
What's 1948 till 2024?
Worse, your booth.
What's 2024? Vayavdel Elokim ben ha'or uven ha'choshech. You see? It's very good what you said. It's very, very good what you said, because it's exactly zeh. This is the picture, Yossi. This is it. I mean, alavai. This is the avoda, what we're trying to do in here. This is what we're trying to understand and realize and connect in here. It's very, very sharp what you said.
I think it's also very important to note here that it's not the shemesh that is the source of Or.
No.
It is, there's an pre-existing primordial choshech and Or which we are struggling to define for
Nachon.
ourselves. And to,
Nachon.
It's not color, right.
Right?
But that's important to recognize.
Yeah. It's good. This is all good stuff. Bemet is good stuff. This can give us the runway. Now we can start to slowly begin to fly. Now, as long as we understood that's how I tell you, I never read the psukim like this before. I never thought it
correctly. I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. Only because I'm ready to speak and other people after tell me I didn't understand that either. You're suggesting here, according to the Mechaber, that this is also an instruction manual to Klal Yisrael on how to do our part in Tikkun Olam.
Affirmative.
From the steps that the Kodesh Baruch Hu followed.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna. Yeah, if I could use another word to say yes, but just to make it clear.
Yes.
Of course, absolutely. And the rest of this book is how. Omnam. Ha'havdala hazo, this separation. שהואילה בכך ששחררה את האור מקווי החושך ואפשרה לו לבטא את כוחו. What did this separation enable things to do? It enabled the light to be released from the shackles of working together with darkness, and it enabled it now to express its koyach, its force in the world. Einena tachlit kavanat HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's not the end goal. That's not the purpose of Hashem. יחסי האור והחושך מגיעים לשלמותם רק בסוף היום הראשון. At the end of the first day, then they come to this, the role of both light and darkness come to its shlemus, בו מתאחדות שתי המהויות, where both of these entities come together, והופכות ליום אחד. And they become one day. They become one day.
A day.
Exactly. What did he say? This is so deep. This is so deep. Be'emet. This is not about running with material. What do you think Rav Ginsburg just said in this paragraph?
You need light to have darkness and darkness to have light.
But they each have to be
their own thing.
They each have to be their own thing. Entities have to be their own entities in order to be mashlim each other.
And we need to be able to recognize the difference.
B'diuk. Like the serenity prayer. And the difference and the wisdom to know the difference between the mamash.
And when it's all afor, we're not recognizing either.
Welcome.
Get rid of the gray. Get rid of the gray.
Very good what you're saying. It's not get rid of the black, get rid of the darkness, and it's getting rid of the gray. Yeah, that's very, very... you're a very observant Jew. That's like a very chazak nekuda, what he just said over here. Everyone's so big on saying, Banu choshech legaresh. Well, there's no way you could do that unless you first get rid of the gray. Because it could be you're going to be getting rid of a lot of light in the process as well, unless you can identify it. Nachon? Now, this has been the story here for so many years. We can't identify, everything's a gray area. Everything's a gray area.
Reminds me of the Torah, because it says that the white of the page is as important as the black.
Nachon? Yafeh, but it has to be. And what happens if there's gray on letters? Kivyachol? The Torah is puzzle. This is very interesting stuff, but it's like all it takes is a tzaddik to just look at psukim and be like, guys, it's right there.
Very clearly.
But it doesn't say that God got rid of the choshech. He just said he put it in its space and he gave it its name. And at the end, it becomes Yom Echad. Now, obviously, us and Umot HaOlam are like Yom V'Layla, or V'Choshech. There's a usage of both of them when it's in its proper place. But the goal is for that to work together to form a Yom Echad. But nothing's going to work together in a gray area. Nothing. It will never. Now, continue.
I was going to pick up on this, but Hashem also says the way. He says that he saw the light and it was good. He doesn't, like the way that he got there was that he looked.
He's going to pick up on it. He's going to pick up on it. Yeah.
But
he's going to pick up on it.
We can look at this horrible thing happened, and now we can.
That's what Yossi was saying before.
But that's not what Hashem, when he started to go there.
Yeah.
He looked at the light and said, "This is the good thing."
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna.
Yeah. We're just going to do until just this next piece over here. סיפור היום הראשון של הבריאה מסמן לנו את יעדנו הסופי. It's basically what we just said right now. He's saying the whole, our destination, everything about where we're going to in this world could really be summed up in the first few psukim of the Torah. The end goal, the destination, that last place on it's right there in the beginning. מתחילים לעבוד כשהחושך עופף אותנו ובתוכו מאירים אור. One starts working when I'm hovered and I'm covered by darkness and from within there's light. המציאות המעורבבת איננה עוד שחורה כלילה, אך גם לא מאירה. This reality that's all blurred together, right, is not, and it's not just pure darkness, but it's also not a situation that's necessarily illuminating. We're not in Auschwitz, but we're definitely not in Mashiach yet. יש בה תסבוכת של אפור בגוונים רבים. Multicolored gray syndrome is what he says, is basically the situation that we're working in. מנקודה זו...
You say multicolored gray, you mean ranges of gray.
Ranges of gray. גוונים שונים,
So
ranges of gray.
In 1948 might have been a darker gray than the gray of 1967, but it's still gray.
Or the other way.
Whatever, but
Or the other way.
yes. But the point is that there are
Yes.
gradations.
גוונים is multicolor, yeah. מנקודה זו, from this exact spot, עלינו להתקדם ולהבדיל בין האור ובין החושך. From this spot of recognizing where we're at, like Satmar, listen, Satmar says, it's not afor, it's choshech. Zionism says, it's not choshech, it's or. You see? But he says,
What does Rav Kook say?
that's the multi-gazillion-dollar question. I've thought about this for years intensely, and I've asked so many people.
The Zionism until today.
What's
has
that?
been
I've
great.
been thinking of it a lot.
A lot. I think what Rav Kook would say is exactly this. 100%.
I think he would say that we have to redefine Zionism and that
Who?
Rav Kook.
Yeah,
that
100%. 100%.
But Zionism up until today has been great.
Gray. Now let me just read a few lines, okay, חבר'ה? Thank you. מנקודה זו עלינו להתקדם ולהבדיל בין האור ובין החושך. Now from this place where I'm recognizing, I'm acknowledging, I'm in gray zone, now the thing is not, let me see how gewalt and I could feel and accepting a reality of gray. Now I have to do havdalah. Now I have to keep on doing havdalah between אור and חושך. לתת לכל אחד מהם תחום מוגדר משלו. Give each one their own, give them their makom, give them their definition. כך, מתוך הפרידה המחדדת, through this sharpening of separation, יוכל האור להאיר את החושך באמת. Can the light really start to shine to illuminate the darkness for real? Remember, the chalom of tzionut is the greatest light in the world, but it hasn't yet really shaken the heavens of the darkness and shined it forth yet, illuminated it yet. We must allow it to do so.
Because we haven't created the proper kelim for it to.
נכון? סיו המיועד של התיקון הוא להיות פועלים עם כל. Meaning, the point of all this is that we all work together with the Ribbon Shleim. This is not a dream. Other religions have this inyan of, we shecht anyone that doesn't feel like this and come with us in our way. Our Yiddishkeit is the least, it has no missionary agenda. Lahefich is true. Our job is to figure out a way that everyone's working together. Poalim im kel.
Can I suggest even deeper than that? Because our ultimate tikkun is to be or lagoyim, is to shine the light to the goyim. It's exactly this.
יפה מאוד. כאשר אנו, how do we do this? כאשר אנו משתתפים במעשה בריאה של הקדוש ברוך הוא. What does it mean we become partners with God in creation? חוזרים על פעולתו בהפיכת החושך עצמו לאור. What does it mean? Everyone likes to say, I want to be partners with God. What does that mean? Well, look at the blueprint of the world. Meaning, look at the way the world began. What did God do? He gave place for the light to actually shine through the darkness and change the reality from gray, starting from black to gray to light. That's what it means to become partners with God in creation. אז מגיעה הבריאה כולה לתכלית כוונתה, וכולה נקראת יום אחד. And then, the whole creation comes to its real purpose, and all of creation is called what? לילה אחד? אפור אחד? חושך אחד? יom echad. And what's included in yom echad? יפה מאוד. יפה מאוד,
It's an
נכון?
important concept here that the choshech is a permanent component of the Bria.
He didn't, because if it wasn't, God would have said, He created light, thus eliminating darkness from the Metzius of this world.
Which is not the case.
What happened was...
It would have been nice.
On the outside.
And then we wouldn't have a...
Bayom, I'm continuing, Chavre. I have to end in 5 minutes. Bayom harishon kalul, im ken, sod tikun olam kulo. Mereshito ve'ad sofo. It's amazing. He said basically, in the first day, what's included in the first day? The secret of fixing the whole world from the beginning to the end is all placed within the first few psukim of the Torah. בתורת הקבלה מבואר ששאר ימי הבריאה, in Kabbalah it says the next 6 days, הינם התפרטות של היום הראשון. Do you know what that means? התפרטות?
Details.
It's all basically just detail.
Black Toyota that's parked on the side of the kind of sidewalk on the way up the hill by the parking lot. Anyway, the garbage truck. I mean, is any one of ours?
Black Toyota?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Jeremy?
He's asking what happened.
Because it's there.
בתורת הקבלה,
But I thought that he was saying to separate from the choshech, and now he's saying to turn it into, he said, kulan, lafichat ha-choshech atzmo le'or. I thought we just have to do Havdalah.
yeah, but you can't change the darkness into light without Havdalah. Everyone's trying, action, let me change you can't do anything unless it's clear to you what's darkness and what's light.
You're illuminating the choshech.
You can't do it.
So we want to do Havdalah, and by doing Havdalah, you turn the choshech into or.
Eventually, you'll turn the choshech into or. Now, this is very important to understand the rest of Bria, so the rest of the creation. Listen, בתורת הקבלה מבואר ששאר ימי הבריאה הינם התפרטות של היום הראשון. The rest of the 6 days of creation are basically hitpartut. I don't know exactly the right word for that in English, but yeah, it's the closest we could get to. He'll explain it in a second. ההתבוננות בהם, introspecting the other days of creation, יכולה ללמד אותנו בצורה מפורטת יותר את הדרך בה נוכל להביא במודעותנו להפיכת החושך הקדמון לאור. And by taking a closer look at the way that Hashem, what He did on the first day, this inyan of Havdalah is not as, we don't see that in the rest of the days, right? This inyan of Havdalah is on the first day. Taking a deeper look into it, interesting. Individualization.
Or as we would say in the psychological term, individuation.
Individuation.
Yes, more so.
Is basically, he's saying, looking at it deeply can teach us more practically and more in detail how we can come to a consciousness of being able to do Havdalah, which will lead to changing darkness into light. Kol yom shel bria hu shlav shel tikun hachoshech shekadam la. Every single day of creation, we didn't finish the job on the first day. What was set on the first day? The mechanism with which I approach my avodah in this world. But every day of creation is giving me more and more of a chance to finish the job that was offered to me on the first day of creation.
Isn't that light to light? I mean,
That's eventually we'll get there. How else do you get it? When you want to light a candle, where do you get it from?
light.
Yes. שלבים אלה מכוונים כנגד 7 מידות הלב כפי שנפרט בהמשך. Now, every time you see this, in Rav Ginsburg's farm specifically, when he's building a picture for us, an imagery, it's always working with the 7 midas of the heart, which we're going to get more into next time we learn, but that's the framework, that's the way, that's how Kabbalah works, that's how the Pnimis Torah works, giving us directions, and we're going to try to make it as clear as possible. Okay, what do I know on a Das level? like from today's shir, what do I know on a da'as level?
There's light and there's darkness. And
No. Start earlier. There's darkness. There's darkness. Then came light. The light wasn't really doing that much, but it existed. It was gray. Then Hashem says, when does Hashem say the light is good?
Once it's separated.
Then he sees it's good. He's like, I'm going to separate this. And then he gives names, and they both work simultaneously together, forming this thing called Yom Echad. But if anyone could tell me right now if they know what they're supposed to do, I'd be shocked. But what the way we're learning is that first these musagim as concepts, it's like someone that learns it. When you want to learn Italian or something, right? You first have to learn. It's a new language. It's a new language for us.
You read Binyanim.
Huh?
Learning the Binyanim.
Learning Binyanim, 100%. So we're going to continue to look at, on Wednesday, what we're going to see is how 1948, 1945, 1948, 1967, they go hand in hand with the story of the creation of this world like it's no one's business. All right, we'll continue Wednesday, Be'ez Hashem. You pass me back the pages, okay?